At this
Recording
juncture,
in progress.
please allow me to acknowledge the presence of my esteemed colleague, Senator Risa Ontiveros, joining us online.
Good
Senator,
afternoon, Chair.
thank you for joining us. Thank you.
You're
Much
welcome, Chair.
appreciated. And later on, Senator Rafi Tulfo, who will also be joining us via Zoom. Um, we would also like to acknowledge the presence of Congressman Marco Wanko, whose long-standing advocacy in nuclear energy policy will greatly enrich today's discussion. He will be joining us in a few moments. Now, may I request the... Okay.
Ma'am,
No,
nandito na po.
that's not him. That's not him. Now, may I request our Committee Secretary, Director Sue Candao, to acknowledge our resource persons and experts for today.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Before you continue, ComSec, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Congressman Marco Wanko joining us online. Good afternoon and thank you, Mark.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you. My deep appreciation for allowing me to appear on Zoom at this very important committee meeting.
Thank you. ComSec.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our guests for this afternoon are the following: from the Department of Foreign Affairs. We have Assistant Secretary Edgar B. Badajos of the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs. We also have Deputy Assistant Secretary Maria Rosny Fanco of the United Nations and other international organizations of the DFA. We have Director Christiansen Cabahog from the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs of the DFA, and Director Sheila Briones from the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs of the DFA. They're also joined by Attorney Zafaria Leoren Orero from the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs of the DFA, and Ms. Ira Lizeth Rodillas from the United Nations and other international organizations of the DFA. From the office, from the Department of Energy, we have Undersecretary Giovanni Carlo J. Bacordo. We also have Ms. Sheila de la Cruz, the Chief Nuclear Energy Division of the DOE. We have Attorney Maria Christine Sigotera from the Legal Services of the DOE. From the Bureau of Customs, we have Police Brigadier General Nolasco Batan, Deputy Commissioner of the Enforcement Group of the BOC. And we also have Attorney Arnel Alhambra, Deputy Commissioner, Revenue Collection and Monitoring Group of the Bureau of Customs. And we have Special Lieutenant Elvin Enad from the Environment Protection Unit of the BOC. And also Attorney John Paul Cruz, the Legal Service of the BOC. From the Department of Interior and Local Government, we have Attorney Iza Marie Laurio Abadjano, Assistant Director of the DILG. And then Mr. Joran Capenpilan, Program Development Officer of the DILG. From the Department of Science and Technology, we have Undersecretary Leah Buendia from the Research and Development Group of the DOST. And we also have, Your Honor, via Zoom, Dr. Carlos Arcilia, the Director of the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute. And we also have from the DOST, Mr. Alfonso Singayan, from he's the Supervising Science Research Specialist, with Miss Mary Gold Bulo, Senior Science Research Specialist of the PNRI, and Miss Valerie Ann Samson, Deputy Director of the PNRI. And we also have invited, Your Honor, from stakeholders or organizations. We have from Alpas Pinas, Ms. Gail Certeza, the lead convener. And we also have from Greenpeace, Mr. Jefferson M. Chua. That's all for now, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sue Candao. My dear colleagues, team guests, good afternoon. The Philippines is geographically situated in the region surrounded by nuclear-powered states These proximity makes us inherently vulnerable to the transboundary movement of radioactive materials and the fallout of potential nuclear incidents. Furthermore, driven by the ongoing oil crisis in the Middle East, the country is urgently seeking alternative sources of energy, which has understandably brought nuclear power back into our national discourse. Again, this backdrop, the Committee on Foreign Relations is evaluating the following four international instruments. Number one, the Convention on Nuclear Safety, which establishes obligations for states to maintain high standards in the operation and regulation of nuclear facilities. Second, the protocol to amend the Vienna Convention on Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage, which expands the scope of liability and strengthens access to remedies for victims. Three, the Convention on Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage, which seeks to ensure that victims of nuclear damage have access to adequate and timely compensation through international funding mechanism, of course. And lastly, the Joint Convention on the Safety of Spent Fuel Management and on the Safety of Radioactive Waste Management, which addresses the safe handling, storage, and disposal of spent fuel and radioactive waste. Collectively, these instruments transcends mere policy declaration. They impose strict binding obligations. They demand a clear legal framework for liability and compensation, competent and independent regulatory institutions, and robust mechanisms for emergency preparedness and response. The instruments require transparency, including regular reporting and participation in international peer review processes. Despite the promised benefits of these nuclear instruments, we must also ask the fundamental questions. Are they consistent with our Constitution and our long-standing nuclear policy? Does the Philippines have the necessary legal and regulatory framework in place, or will substantial legislative action be required? Do our institutions possess the technical competence to enforce these obligations? What is the extent of our financial exposure? Are these commitments economically sustainable? And ultimately, do we have adequate safeguards in place to guarantee the protection of our people and our environment, which we saw in several years ago what happened to Fukushima in Japan and also in Russia? We expect our resource persons to provide clear and complete responses to these pressing issues. Maraming salamat po. Let's begin. Let's ask Senator Risa Ontiveros if she has an opening statement. Senator Ontiveros, do you have an opening statement? Okay, we'll get back to Senator Ontiveros. We now go to we now proceed with the hearing proper with the indulgence of my fellow senators. We will proceed as follows. First, we shall allow the resource persons to deliver their statements and presentations, starting with Congressman Marco Huangco. And then we will give opportunities to our senators who will be online or who are online now, the opportunity to ask questions and seek clarifications. Senators who have not yet given their opening statement online may do so before asking their questions. First on our agenda is the Convention on Nuclear Safety. Let us now hear the position of Congressman Mark Cojuangco. Congressman Cojuangco, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Tulfo. Once again, thank you so much for allowing me to participate in this hearing regarding the four conventions which the executive has asked the Senate to ratify. I'm in support of all of those ever since the 19th Congress. Unfortunately, this appeal to the Senate arrived late at the 19th Congress. That's why the Senate ran out of time to consider ratifying these 4 conventions, some of which were signed since the time of then President Cory Aquino, and then mostly during the time of President Fidel Ramos. Kaya ang tagal na po nitong mga convention, hindi po nara-ratify ng Senado. Napabayaan po dahil every administration, they start from the beginning again to get certificates of what do you call it, no objection from the various agencies. Endorso ko po ang lahat nitong convention na ito, but my purpose here today is not for those 4 conventions. In fact, I would not be here today if not for a 5th convention, the joint protocol, which was left out by the executive in its letter to the Senate. In my opinion, and the opinion of many experts, including Professor Caloy Arcilla, the head of PNRI, who wrote a letter to Secretary Maria Teresa Lazaro that this JP, the 5th convention, should be included in the appeal to the Senate. And also Secretary Renato Solidum, the head of DOST, he wrote a similar letter to Secretary Lazaro of the DFA, requesting that JP also be included in the letter of the President to the Senate. Wala pong masama na aprubahan po ng Senate ito. Kahit na hindi po ito hiningi ng ating Pangulo, it could even be a conditional approval na once na hiningi ng Presidente, deemed approved na. Kasi sayang po ang pagkakataon na i-consider na ito ng Senate. This joint protocol will lower the international liability of the Philippines pagdating po sa lahat po ng convention po na ito. This is an extension of the Vienna, 97 Vienna. Tayo po ay signatory doon sa 63 Vienna, which may kaugnayan din po ito. So, ang suggestion ko po, ang recommendation ko at ang apila ko po sa committee is na talakayin na rin po itong joint protocol at kung pwede po aprubahan naman ng Senado i-ratify na po ng Senado itong convention na ito. 1980s pa po itong convention na ito. Lumalabas tayong hindi maasahan sa international conventions because nakakalimutan po natin i-ratify. Yan lang po ang aking pahayag, unang pahayag. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman Cojuangco. But let me just clarify that the Senate do not have is not in possession yet of that joint convention that you're talking about. I believe still with the
Yeah.
executive. We're waiting
In-
for it though.
In fact, marami po akong dokumento na pinatanggap sa committee po ninyo. Nandyan po pati po ang explanation ng ating the House's international nuclear law expert, si Attorney Helen Cook ng Australia, na nagpapaliwanag po kung bakit dapat itong joint protocol ay isama na po at kung ipapasa yung 4, isama na po ito. Madali naman po para sa committee po ninyo, Mr. Chairman, na humingi ng kopya sa eksekutibo ng joint protocol.
Thank you. We will do that. Probably after this meeting, I will personally call the secretary to check on the status of that treaty or that convention.
Maraming
uh,
salamat
Com.
po.
All right. Comsec, who's our first resource person, speaker?
Sir, the first speaker will be the Department of Foreign Affairs, followed by the Department of Energy.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and the members of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Congressman Marco Juanco of the House of Representatives, and of course of the presence of our other colleagues from the other agencies of the department. The Department of Foreign Affairs is pleased to appear through us, pleased to appear before you all today to assist this esteemed committee as it reviews and considers the 4 treaties that the chair has mentioned earlier that are up for Senate concurrence. But then again, just for the record, these are the Convention on Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage, the Convention on Nuclear Safety, the Protocol to amend the Vienna Convention on Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage, and the Joint Convention on the Safety of Spent Fuel Management and on the Safety of Radioactive Waste. What I'll do, Mr. Chair, so that I don't repeat what you've already said or mentioned, is that I will just briefly describe the processes that these 4 instruments have already gone through or will go through domestically in order for them to become binding upon the Philippine government. First, the Convention on Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage. This was adopted on September 12, 1997, and it entered into force on April 15, 2015. The President signed the Instrument of Accession on 5 February 2025, and it was then endorsed to the Senate of the 20th Congress on December 10, 2025. Before I proceed any further, let me just note what Congressman Marco Juanco earlier, his request, if the joint protocol, the 5th instrument, can be possibly included in this committee deliberation. Let me just mention, Mr. Chair, that it is not procedurally proper as of yet, because the joint protocol has yet to undergo presidential ratification. Once we are notified that the joint protocol has already been ratified by the President, that is the only time that this can be endorsed to the Senate for Senate concurrence. But until then, it cannot be considered,
So,
Mr. Chair, by the committee.
Asek Badajos, where is this now? Is it in your possession or is it in Malacanang?
We still have to receive it from the Department of Energy, Mr. Chair, as the implementing agency.
So nasa Department of Energy.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
See, this is the problem with our system here, Asek Badajos.
Mhm.
We're like going in circles. Nasa DOE, ibabato sa inyo, iaakit sa Pangulo, tsaka ibababa sa amin. Ang daming pinatutunguhan. Have you checked the status of this Department of Energy? What do they have already a report o ano nangyari, or are they just sitting on it?
Maybe we could ask our
Uh,
colleagues from the Department of Energy, Mr. Chair, what is the status of
All right,
the,
give me a second here.
yes, sir.
Yusek Giovanni Bacordo, can you brief us on the status of that convention? The one that we're looking for, like what Congressman Marco Juanco has been looking for, and what the DFA has been waiting for, and we're waiting. What's the status?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the joint protocol relating to the application of the Vienna Convention and the Paris Convention has just been transmitted to us. We will facilitate the processing.
Where did it come from? Where and who just transmitted to you? Kasi Congressman Cojuangco was talking about it like panahon pa ni dating Pangulong Gloria Arroyo. Ay, anong year na po tayo ngayon? Nakailang Pangulo na po tayong pumalit. Bakit ngayon pa lang? Saan tumagal? Saan po tumagal ito?
first it came from the DOST and then transmitted to DFA, and DFA transmitted to us just this month, Mr. Chair.
All right. So ano ho magiging proseso? What will you do with it? Kailan po? Kasi everybody's waiting. The DFA is waiting, and then upon the ratification of the president, then ibababa sa amin. It's a long
The
process.
first round, Mr. Chair, is the facilitation of the subcommittee number 3 of the Nuclear Energy Program Interagency Committee. And once we are already in agreement, that's a time that we transmit it again to DFA.
Can you give me a timetable under Secretary Bacordo? How long will it take before you can transmit that to the Department of Foreign Affairs? Kasi mahirap po ito, sir. Natitenga sa ahensya po ninyo, tapos matitenga sa ahensya. Pasensya na po kayo. I mean, but I'm not used to this kind of work. Like, aantayin kasi may hanggang bukas, next week, next month. Ako po kasi na ika nga opisyal, pag dinala yung problema sa harap ko, kailangan aksyonan po natin. Because why do we have to wait tomorrow, the day after, year after, hanggang sa nakakalimutan? Yung po ugali natin, nakakalimutan na natin. So kailan po, can you give us a timetable, this committee, when can you do this and submit it to the Department of Foreign Affairs?
Mr. Chair, may I comment?
Mr. Chair, the processing is as fast as the approval of the different member agencies part of subcommittee number 3. So the last
Mr.
time
Chair.
that we experienced the certification from the different agencies took us 3 months, Mr. Chair.
3 months. 3 months for what? To approve yung composition pa lang ng subcommittee 3? Is
No,
that what you're saying?
Mr. Chair, it's the approval of this joint protocol of the joint protocol.
3 months. Yes, Asik Badaos.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, for giving the floor. In our last meeting, also with your committee, my understanding was that there was already an interagency decision made by the NEPIAC regarding this fifth instrument. And the decision was not yet to submit it to Senate or not even to the President's office for ratification. The interagency committee only decided to submit the 4 instruments for Senate concurrence at this time. Now, I think what's going to happen in view of this recommendation by Congressman Cojuangco, as endorsed by the DOST, there's now a proposal to include this 5th instrument together with the 4 instruments that we are already considering. So what will happen is for the interagency, again, committee to meet among themselves and come up with a policy decision whether or not to really endorse this 5th instrument for Senate concurrence. But before it can go to the Senate for concurrence, it will have to go through the Office of the President for ratification. For ratification, what it will need, Mr. Chair, is a recommendation, again, by the DOE, and that recommendation will have to include the certificate of concurrence by all the agencies involved in the consideration of this 5th instrument. That is where USEC is coming from, Mr. Chair, when he says they will probably need at most 3 months, you said, USEC, to gather all the certificates of concurrence. And when they have all the certificates of concurrence, they will endorse it to the DFA. We will now package what we call the ratification package, which will consist of the national interest analysis and also the certificate of concurrence from all the involved agencies. And then we will endorse it to the Office of the President for ratification. And
Mr.
once the
Chair.
President ratifies the instrument, Mr. Chair, it will be endorsed to the Senate for concurrence. Thank you.
I think
Mr.
Congressman Cojuangco has a question. Kong?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, yan po ang sakit no ng ating gobyerno. Mahigit 30 taon na po yan paikot-ikot sa ating gobyerno. Sa totoo lang, yan po ay ratified na nung presidenteng pumirma po niyan. Ang problema, hindi po natatakel ng Senado dahil ah, hindi yung proseso ng yung dinescribe ni ASEC, napaka masalimuot na proseso na by the time na dumating sa Senado, tapos na ang termino ng isang presidente. Kaya ilang presidente na po ang lumipas. Ang sinasabi ko po, wala namang nagbabar sa ating saligang batas na yan ay conditionally i-approve ng Senate. At sabihin doon na it is deemed approved but subject to the processes, the president writing a letter to the Senate for it to be released, di ba? So at least yung proseso po sa Senado natapos na po para magkaroon ng tsansa yan na umiral ang convention po na yan.
Thank you, Congressman Cojuangco. Actually, ang alam ko nga po, 4 lang ito. Meron palang panlima na sinasabi yun ninyo.
Yun na
Good
nga,
thing
yun
you
na nga
brought this
po.
up here this afternoon. Para,
Yes, and yung ano po, yung DOST and PNRI, if I'm not mistaken, are co-chairs of the NEPIAC. Kaya hindi lang DOE ang dapat magdikta ng whether gagawin po yan o hindi. May bigat din po ang mga opinion ng DOST.
all right. Thank you, Congressman Cojuangco. At this point, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of my colleague, Senator Robin Padilla. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you. So, ito ang problema natin, Department of Energy. Itong administrasyon na ito, may what, 25, 26, 7, 3 years. Less than. So, antay na naman natin yung susunod po na administrasyon. Siguro maganda kung mahuhulaan natin kung sino maging pangulo natin, siguro kausapin na ho natin. Baka pwede ho ninyo aprobahan na ito. I think that's the best way kasi kung lagi na ganito, inuupuan lang ho natin, and you guys believe this is not important and urgent, na may problema ho tayo. Lahat ho na nasa paligid natin gumagamit na po ng nuclear energy. Whether we like it or not, meron tayong mga nuclear medicine. We cannot, said we don't need that because everything is moving forward. Naiiwan po tayo. Hindi naman po itong pag-uusapan natin is we make nuclear bombs. We're looking for solutions. Paano tayo kuha ng energy, electricity, isa po yan. Kaya hindi po natin pwedeng ipawalang bahala po ito na let's not talk about this sa susunod na administrasyon na naman and sa susunod. The problem is matatapos na ho kami dito, matatapos ang termino ni Congressman Cojuangco, ni Senator Tulfo, ni Senator Padilla, wala magagawa. Sabihin ng mga future generation, ang ginagagawa ng mga senador na congressman. We
Mr.
really
Chair.
have to do this. So, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, sabihin ko lang nung 19th Congress, ang kupad kumilos niya mga yan. Kaya minarapat ko na sarili ko, tumawag po ako sa mga secretary, within 2 weeks po napapirma ko po lahat yan. Doon sa 4 na konbensyon na sinumite ngayon. Ano ba naman na upuan nila yan, tawagan nila personal ang bawat isang secretary. Within 1 afternoon, you can do that. Sa isang cabinet meeting, talakayin po. Di tapos kaagad. Ang problema, proseso ang gusto nilang umiral. Hindi yung accomplishment. Kaya ganyan po ang nangyayari.
I understand po. Ako din po hindi po ako natutuwa sa mga nangyayaring ito. Parang ang kupad po talaga kumilos ng ating pamahalaan. Lalo na po ito mga ehensya na involved po rito. But anyway, thank you po. Well, May we ask Senator Robin Padilla kung if you have any opening statement, Sen?
Isang magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Siyempre po sa ating ang boses ng masang Pilipino, Senator Erwin Tulfo. Ako po ay nakikinig at matagal na po ako. Kasi si Congressman Mark Juanco, nakita ko na po siya noong 19th Congress at nagkausap din po kami dito. At ito naman po ay, siyempre, tama po yung sinabi ninyo, halos dito din sa Southeast Asia, marami din dito naka-nuclear power plant na. Yan naman ay katotohanan na. At tayo naman dito sa Pilipinas, kung hindi naman tayo nagpalit ng presidente nung araw, meron na din tayong Bataan Nuclear Power Plant noon. Kaya nga yan lagi tayong biktima ng pagpapalit ng administrasyon, wala tayong continuity. Yan talaga ang problema dito sa Pilipinas. Ang maimungkahi ko lamang po ay sana ay maging safe. Kung ano man ang balak natin, maging safe ito. At maging lang tayo, siyempre alam niyo ho, yung nangyaring gera ngayon sa Middle East, ang panakot ng dalawa, ng Iran at ng Amerika, lulusubin nila yung mga nuclear plant ng mga pambihira. Kaya siguro, napakaganda ho ng pagdinig nito at mapag-usapan natin. Ito na ho yung panahon talaga ngayon eh. Tama ho si Senator Erwin Tulfo. Ito na ho talaga yung panahon. Nandito na tayo sa panahon na to. Siguraduhin lang ho natin na safe yung bansa natin. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po,
Mr. Chair.
Senator Robin Padilla. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, mag-react lang ako sa sinabi ni Senator Robin Hood. Nabanggit na rin ng chair kanina na kahit hindi po tayo pumasok sa nuclear energy, no? Ang dami pong tumatawid sa teritoryo natin ng mga barko na may sakay na mga radioactive elements, whether it be for medicine, for industry, or for whatever purpose it may be. Let's say lumubog po yan, ang isang barko sa ating teritoryo. Dito po papasok itong mga convention na ito para maging madali ang pag-settle ng liabilities, para alam kung saang korte pwedeng ihabla ang dapat maihabla. Yun po ang mga purpose nitong convention na ito. Itong convention ng mga ito ay hindi po magtatayo ng nuclear plant. Pero magbibigay po ng giya sa atin, ng framework sa atin sa legal international agreements. Yun lang po ang sadya nitong mga convention na ito.
Very well said, Congressman Marco Juanco. Asek Badajos, meron po kayong dadagdag?
Well, actually, Mr. Chair, we have already mentioned earlier the highlights of these four instruments that we are considering. And I mentioned also that I will just briefly discuss the processes that all these four instruments have already gone through and will go through domestically. So as I noted, these four instruments have already undergone presidential ratification, and they are now undergoing this committee hearing for the eventual purpose of having them ratified or concurred in by the Senate. Regarding the statement of Congressman Marco Juanco earlier about the fifth protocol, he mentioned that previous administration has already ratified or signed the instrument. We are verifying our record because there's no showing that it's been ratified already by the Philippine government. And that is the reason why we are still waiting for a submission by the lead agency, which is the DOE here, after getting all the certificates of concurrence from all the allied agencies, for them to submit the instrument so that we can submit it immediately to the executive office for ratification. Yun hong pagpa-package namin, Mr. Chair, ng ratification package na sinasabi ay napakadali po. Once we have all the supporting documents, including the national interest analysis, a summary of the highlights and benefits of the joint protocol, We actually we actionate on that same day. We submit it to the office of the president. Doesn't take long for the office of the president to
Ganito
ratify.
na lamang siguro,
Yes,
Asek
sir.
Badaos, para
Opo.
mabilis po tayo. Ano po?
Aha.
Inaantok po ako sa explanation pa lang ho ninyo. Inaantok na ho ako.
Yes, sir.
My point is, sinasabi po ni Yusek Bacordo, 3 months. Okay, so today is April po tayo. April, May, June, July. Siguro bago mag-SONA ang Pangulo, tapos na po yan. And then maibabato nyo na po sa DFA. Go ahead, Yusek.
Mr. Chair, these 4 conventions that we have submitted to the Senate, to the Committee on Foreign Relations, as mentioned by Asek Badajos, it underwent the process already. The ratification of the Senate of these 4 protocols is not dependent on this 5th protocol, as mentioned by Congressman.
I understand where you're coming, Yusek Bacordo, pero what I am asking, this committee is asking, can we include it already, habulin ho natin by this July, na bago po magpalit na naman tayo ng administrasyon, magkakalimutan na naman tayo. I want that na pinag-uusapan na po natin ito ngayong July, matatapos po sa inyo, ibabato nyo sa DFA. DFA will wait for the ratification of the president. When will that be? For example, so July, natanggap po ninyo, ibabato nyo po sa Malacanang. Ilang linggo po yan aantayin bago mapirmahan po?
Sa amin po, sir, once we receive the complete package from the lead agency, 3 to 4 days, may babato na po namin sa presidente.
And then we'll wait for the approval of the
Yes, sir.
president,
Opo.
right? So can we do that, Yusek Bacordo, na can you deliver that ikang 5th protocol in 3 months to DFA?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we commit our best effort in this regard. But then we cannot speak again for the other 24 member agencies from which requires their concurrence also, Mr. Chair.
Well, sino-sino ho ba yung 24 na yan? Eh, yun na nga po nasasabi kanina ni Congressman Marco Huangco. Pag may cabinet meeting, pwede na kayo magbulong-bulungan. Si Secretary Garin, pwede na kausapin ng DOST. Si Secretary, can they do that, Yusek Bacordo?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will do just that.
Please inform Secretary Garin. Tama po si Senator Padilla. Hindi ba pwede mag-usap-usap sa cabinet meeting? Lagi naman po nagpapatawag ng cabinet meeting ang Pangulo. Lalo po ngayon, meron pong tinatawag na uplift po sila. Nag-uusap-usap dahil sa crisis. I think you can do that, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Sige po. So are you done, Asek Badaos? Because we
Yes,
now
sir.
proceed to...
We have nothing further to add, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. Then the Department of Energy, go ahead. If you have any presentation.
Our presentation, Mr. Chair, is the updates on the Philippine Nuclear Energy Program.
Okay. How long is that? Can you limit that into 5 minutes? Because we have a lot of resource persons, speakers this afternoon. How long is your presentation?
I'll make it within 5 minutes, Mr. Chair.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Slide this. Okay, so Honorable Chair, distinguished members of the Senate Committee, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am here to present to you the overview of the Philippine Nuclear Energy Program. Next slide. Allow me to briefly present the historical development and planned milestones of the Philippine Nuclear Energy Program as reflected in this timeline. Can you please read through the slide? Okay, next slide. To support these goals, the government has outlined the Nuclear Energy Program roadmap with defined milestones. In the immediate term, 2026 is a critical year focused on strengthening the country's legal and regulatory foundations. This includes the implementation of key policies and the establishment of the PhilAtom, which will serve as the country's independent nuclear regulatory body. Next slide. Under our Philippine Energy Plan 2023 to 2050, the plan is for nuclear energy to bring in roughly 1.2 gigawatts by 2032, another 1.2 gigawatts by 2035, and up to 2.4 gigawatts as we reach 2050. Next slide. At present, The Nuclear Energy Program Interagency Committee is composed of 24 government agencies. Shown here on the screen, Mr. Chair, is the 24 member agencies that I mentioned earlier. To ensure global alignment and best practices, the NEPIAC adopted the framework of the International Atomic Energy Agency's 19 infrastructure issues distributed among the 6 subcommittees. Next slide. Subcommittee 1 has accomplished several milestones. This includes the issuance of EO 116 and EO 164. Subcommittee 1 also supported the establishment of the Nuclear Energy Division of the Department of Energy and continues to conduct knowledge sharing sessions and funding and financing. Next slide. Under Subcommittee 2, with regard to the draft nuclear safety policy, the document is currently awaiting inputs from the NEPIAC Steering Committee, considering that relevant agencies have already been engaged in the drafting process. Next slide. Subcommittee 3 has played a central role in establishing the international legal foundations necessary for the peaceful, safe, and responsible use of nuclear energy in the Philippines. Okay, next slide, please. Subcommittee 4 has led public awareness efforts with the public perception surveys conducted by Social Weather Station in 2019 and 2024 to provide an overview of public perception on nuclear energy in the Philippines. In 2019, 79% of respondents expressed support for the possible rehabilitation of BNPP, while 65% supported the construction of new nuclear power facilities. In 2024, 74% of respondents indicated that nuclear energy should be a reliable source of energy. More than 70% supported its inclusion in the country's energy mix, while 76% expressed interest in learning more about nuclear energy. Next slide. Subcommittee 5 is currently refining environmental impact assessment guidelines and has finalized the National Radiological and Nuclear Emergency Response Plan. Next slide. Subcommittee 6, before that, previous slide, please. Regarding siting, we have identified 3 priority areas, Morong and Mariveles in Bataan, which leverage existing energy infrastructure, and Aroroy in Masbate. Next slide. Subcommittee 6 has made significant strides in policy and technical readiness. To date, we have successfully conducted a series of comprehensive workshops focusing on the technicalities of the fuel cycle and waste handling. Next slide. Another key component of the Philippine Nuclear Energy Program is its strong international engagement. These engagements allow the Philippines to learn from global best practices, build partnerships, and strengthen technical and institutional capacity for nuclear energy development. Next slide. The BNPP is the Philippines' first and only nuclear power facility. It is a 620 megawatt pressurized water reactor located in Morong, Bataan, and was constructed in the late 70s and early 80s to address the country's energy security concerns at that time. Next slide. In 2024, the NEPIAC made significant steps in advancing the Philippine Nuclear Energy Program and addressing the gaps identified in Phase 1. The committee worked diligently to refine the comprehensive action plans, ensuring alignment with the IAEA's recommendations and the country's long-term energy goals. Next slide. The Philippines also continued to strengthen its global nuclear partnerships through the Philippine International Nuclear Supply Chain Forum 2025. Next slide. For 2026, the NEPIAC is intended to support the country's readiness for the safe and responsible adoption of nuclear energy. The Philippines will also engage in the Nuclear Energy Cooperation Subsector Network and the Nuclear Regulatory Framework Workshop with the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency. Next slide. One of Subcommittee 1's key priority is to secure funding and financing mechanisms that will support the development, construction, and long-term operation of nuclear power projects. Okay, next slide. Subcommittee 2 aims to ensure that sensitive nuclear-related data is handled securely and in line with international standards. The subcommittee is also working on nuclear security agreements, which will outline procedures and coordination mechanisms in the event of security-related incidents involving nuclear or radioactive materials. Next slide. One of Subcommittee 3's primary target is the continued refinement and development of laws and regulations that will support every phase of the nuclear energy program, from planning and construction all the way to operations and oversight. This ensures that the country has a clear and reliable legal framework aligned with international standards. Next slide. One of its major targets of Subcommittee 4 is developing a skilled workforce that can meet the technical and operational demands of nuclear power. This includes advancing training programs, academic partnerships, and capacity building initiatives to ensure that the country's qualified professionals in engineering, safety, operations, and regulatory fields. Next slide. Subcommittee 5's key target is identifying suitable sites for future nuclear power plants, taking into account geological stability, access to cooling sources, proximity to transmission lines, and community considerations. Next slide. Lastly, Subcommittee 6 key goal is securing reliable fuel sourcing, which involves identifying and evaluating potential international suppliers, ensuring compliance with global standards, and guaranteeing the long-term availability of nuclear fuel for future power plants. Next slide. Here are the ways forward recommended from the following for the follow-up in-year mission in 2024. Okay, and last slide, next slide. The Philippine Nuclear Energy Program represents a carefully studied and steadily advancing national undertaking, guided by safety, strengthened by partnerships, and anchored in our commitment to long-term energy security. As we move forward, the collaboration of government, industry, distribution utilities, and their stakeholders will be essential in turning policy into progress. Together, we are laying the foundation for safer, more reliable, and more sustainable energy future for the Filipino people. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Let's deal first with the Convention on Nuclear Safety. Matanong ko lamang po kayo dyan sa DFA, ASEC Badajos. Ano-ano na po ang bansa na nag-concur sa convention na ito? Specifically dito po sa ASEAN. What countries na po ang pumayag, ang pumirma?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the Convention on Nuclear Safety, 6 ASEAN member states have already signed the instrument, and these are Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. For the protocol to amend the Vienna Convention on Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage, only Indonesia.
Chairman, may tanong lang po ako kay ASEC.
Yes, sir.
Doon po na sa nabanggit niyong mga bansa, sino po ang may nuclear energy doon? Sa nabanggit niyo pong 6 na ASEAN members, ang may nuclear energy.
Wala po per our record, sir.
Opo, meron po
Wala.
silang plano din magtayo ng
I believe so, sir.
kaya po
Yes, sir.
proactive
po
na sila. Proactive na sila.
We can safely say so, sir. Yes, sir.
Salamat po. Salamat,
Opo.
Chairman.
Thank you. Ito pong Convention on Nuclear Safety promotes the safety of land-based civil nuclear power plants. Tama po ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does this not cover nuclear plants used for military operations? Under what convention naman po yung military operations? Kasi I'm sure marami tayong kababayan pag nilabas natin ito, marami pong magre-reklamo at pupunta sa kalsada, magrarally dahil natatakot po sila. May punto rin naman ho sila dahil magiging target po tayo nga naman. Kaya may nangyari ngayon sa Iran at saka Estados Unidos, di ba? Ayaw ng Amerika na gumawa ng nuclear armament po ang Iran. Pero sinasabi ng Iran, gagamitin lang nila for their energy, etc. So, ano ho ito? Hindi po covered dito yung military operations po, ano?
Sir, hindi po. Ito ay para po lang sa peaceful uses of nuclear energy.
Such as?
At wala pong particular convention covering the use of nuclear energy for military operations.
Meron po ba tayong existing domestic law to support the Convention on Nuclear Safety?
This was enacted in, I think, this is the Republic Act 12305, which is the Philippine National Nuclear Energy Safety Act.
19 yan.
2025, yes, sir.
19. Malipat po tayo dito sa Department of Energy naman. Can you provide na anong klaseng power plants covered ng convention po na ito? Para sa impormasyon po at kaalaman ng mga kababayan po natin, kasama ba rito ang mga military operations? Ito po ay para lamang sa civil nuclear power plants. Bagamat nabanggit na po ito ng DFA kanina.
Yes, I confirm, Mr. Chair. There's no specific technology for power generation. It could be a conventional nuclear power plant. It may be a small modular reactor or a micro modular reactor, but no specific technology that we are pushing forward, Mr. Chair.
Sabi po sa Article 8 ng itong Convention Nuclear Safety, member states are required to establish regulatory body that is effectively separated organizations concerned with the promotion or utilization of nuclear energy. Tama po ba?
Yes, sir.
All right. Isa pa akong katanungan before we move on, unless kung may tatanong din po si Senator Robin. A nuclear power plant operator hires a foreign engineering firm to maintain the reactor's cooling pump. If a leak occurs, which entity takes the responsibility?
It's the operator, Mr. Chair. The work can be subcontracted, but the liability cannot be transferred to the subcontractor. It's still the operator of the nuclear facility.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Congressman Mark.
Yeah, that is still subject of a House bill and a Senate bill. I think the Senate bill is sponsored by Senator Bam Aquino. I have sponsored the House Bill 375, which is writing our nuclear liability law, which defines the operator as immediately responsible. In other words, hindi na po kailangan magkaroon ng ihabla sa korte, automatic po sila ang may kasalanan. And it mandates the operator to get at least 300 million SDRs of insurance cover para may pambayad kaagad pag merong insidente.
Thank you for that information, Congressman Mark. Comsec,
The next one, sir.
is our next speaker.
Sir, we will have the Department of Justice on the constitutionality of the four nuclear-related conventions.
Go ahead.
Chairman, meron lang ako bago magsalita yung ating DOJ. Kanina po kasi nabanggit ng ating kasamang senador, napakahalaga po nun. At nabanggit din po ni Asek Badaos, yung patungkol po kanina, yung batas. Pati po di po sa ating saligang batas, malinaw na bawal ang ating mga nuclear weapons dito sa atin. Di ba po, attorney?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
O linawin po natin kasi napakaganda po nung mungkahi kanina ni Senator Tulfo na baka yung ating mga kababayan nakala tayo ipapunta na sa nuclear weapon. Pakilinaw lang po 'yon, paulit-ulit nating linawin na bawal po sa atin ang nuclear weapon.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to Section 8, Article 2 of the 1987 Constitution, the Philippines adopts and pursues a policy of freedom from nuclear weapons in the country. So, that refers to nuclear weapons in the country.
Opo.
Our ratification of the four conventions would not in effect be violative of this provision, as we are not dealing with nuclear weapons per se, but only nuclear energy and the peaceful uses of energy, of nuclear, Mr. Chair.
Chairman, follow-up lang ako. Chairman, meron lang po akong isang follow-up lang. Pati na rin po kay Congressman Mark. Ma'am, maraming mga kababayan natin ang laging, kasi nabanggit na po kanina ni Senator Tulfo na maraming mga kababayan natin, kilala naman natin yan, laging may mga karatula na sinasabi, yung EDCA, yung mga Amerikano, may dalang nuclear dyan sa mga bases na sinasabi ng EDCA. Masasabi po na ba natin na wala sila talagang dalang mga nuclear dyan? Sigurado po ba yan? Mauna na po si Congressman Mark Wangko.
Itong pagdating po dito sa mga convention na ito, wala pong kinalaman sa pagdala ng Amerikano ng nuclear weapons dito. Ang naging matagal ng policy ng US military, we will never confirm nor deny whether may nuclear weapons ang aming mga barko o eroplano. Which naintindihan ko rin, ano? Paano nilang aaminin na may nuclear weapons yung kanilang barko or eroplano, baka maging target po yan. So, ang alam ko, dahil meron po tayong provision sa ating saligang batas na bawal po ang nuclear weapon sa Pilipinas, bawal din po ang nuclear weapon sa mga base katulad yung mga EDCA bases na yan. Bawal po yun.
Halimbawa po, Congressman, halimbawa lang po, hindi po natin, wag naman sana, subhanallah. Halimbawa lang po, meron silang, sabi nyo nga po, hindi nila inaamin. Halimbawa lang, meron silang barko dyan na nag-leak. Merong nuclear waste na nag-leak. Ano po, subjected po ba dito sa ating convention na ito? Makakapaningil po ba tayo?
Unang-una po, ang hindi liquid po ang mga nuclear substances, mga solid po, no? So, imposibleng mag-leak, no? Most often, yan po ay ceramic. So, hindi natutunaw sa tubig, no? So, yung madali kasing sabihin, leak. Ano ibig sabihin ng leak? Kung imposible yan physically, hindi mangyayari po yan.
Halimbawa po nangyari.
Yes.
Para saan po itong treaty na ito kung hindi natin masasagot?
Yes. So,
Para saan ito?
ang treaty po na yan, let's say may barkong dumadaan sa teritoryo ng Pilipinas, may dalang nuclear materials, lumubog, right? May magkakaroon po yan ng demandahan. So, siguro yung whatever, yung carrier o yung shipping
Submarino,
company.
daanan po tayo ng submarino.
Yes, so
Nuclear
ididemanda.
submarine, paano po? Halimbawa, lumubog yan dyan sa West Philippine Sea sa atin, meron kasama po ba dito to?
Kung military po, hindi. Kung civilian po, oo. Kung civilian, hindi tayo pwedeng idemanda sa korte sa ibang bansa, dapat idemanda tayo sa Pilipinas. So, yun po ang isang proteksyon nito. Tapos may limit po sa liability. So, this sets, ang ibig sabihin, hindi open-ended ang liability. Kung wala po tayong joint protocol, open-ended po yung liability. One to sawa po yan. Kung ano ay claim sa atin, sasagutin po natin. Pero kung may joint protocol, may hangganan po ang ating pwedeng maging liability.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.